Tēnā koutou katoa, no mai haere mai, no mai he mai, ki te kaunihira o ngā roto o Rotorua. Welcome everyone and welcome back to our Rotorua Lakes Council. It's a pleasure to be here for our Mayoral Forum on this day, the Friday, 24th of November. I'd like to first of all start our meeting with a karakia. Tūtaua mai runga, tūtaua mai raru, tūtaua mai roto, tūtaua mai roto. Kia tau wai te mauri tū, te mauri ora, ki te katoa, haumie, huie, tai here. Thank you. Just a reminder that this meeting is being recorded in live stream, so if your phones could please be on silent. If you do need to use the Wi-Fi, we do have a Rotorua public Wi-Fi available. And we'll see how we go with this agenda, but we may take a short break for afternoon tea. So I'd like to call for any apologies. I have received one from Mayor of Taupo, also from Julie Gardine, thank you very much. I will get that right. Julie Gardine, Stephanie O'Sullivan from Healthy Oak Stace Lua. We do have Peter Bridgewater attending. Hello, hey Peter, attending in his absence, and also note that you are here in person. Great to see you. Thank you. So, are there any further apologies? There appear to be none. Can I please have a mover and a seconder to accept those apologies? That's moved by Commissioner Tolley, seconded by Mayor Moore. All those in favour, please say aye. Thank you. Also, any acceptance of late items. I do want to note that Mayor Luca has asked that the item seeking feedback on the pyrolysis of tyres be added to the agenda for discussion. So this item was not available when the December agenda was issued, but feedback is requested before the end of 2023. So given this opportunity, we'd just like to add that to the agenda so that we can have a discussion and see if there are any next steps that we wish to follow. So may I please have a mover and a second to accept this as a late item? That is moved by Mayor Luca, seconded by Chair Lido. All those in favour, please say aye. Thank you, and we will discuss that later on in the agenda. So first order of business today is to accept our minutes. We have two sets of minutes to accept. The first one is the Bay Mayoral Forum minutes from the 21st of April. Just checking, are there any amendments or matters arising from these minutes? There appear to be none. May I please have a mover and a seconder to confirm these are true and accurate? That is moved by Commissioner Tolley and seconded by Mayor Denia. All those in favour, please say aye. Thank you. And now we have our minutes from our forum meeting on the 11th of August. Again, are there any corrections or amendments? I believe that's page 50. Thank you. That is moved by Commissioner Tolley, seconded by Mayor Denia. All those in favour, please say aye. Thank you. We move to our first lot of presentations today. Our first one is from Te Whatu Order. The item will be presented by Zoom. Thank you very much to our Zoom attendees for your patience today. So I'd like to introduce by Zoom Dean Dixon Harris, who's our senior advisor, and Taina Kaiaruna, who's our principal advisor from Te Whatu Order. And this is our localities and locality boundary determination from Te Whatu Order on page 22 of your agenda. So without further ado, we'll hand over to our presenters by Zoom. Kia ora koutou, thank you.
Well, tēnā tātou katoa. Ko Dean Dixon Harris ahau no Ngāti Haua Waikato ki te taho tōku pāpā, Ngāti Whakauē, Ngāpuhi ki te taho tōku mama. I Senior Advisor, Localities National Team. Sort of got a new title as of this week's the Program Manager as well for our National Team Localities. So I'll hand it over to TA.
Kia ora koutou, ko te e kairuna tōku ingoa no Waikato me Ngāti Whātua me Kuki Arani ahau. We're a number of potai, but General Manager Iwi Māori Relationships at the Māori Health Authority o Te Aka Whaora. principal advisor for a little bit longer at Te Whatuora and the National Localities team. Kia ora.
So I just thought, Mia, if we could ask, before we start the presentation, thank you so much for allowing us to come on, and our apologies we couldn't be the kanohi, which is our preference. However, we have been to some of the council hui, so I just wanted to know if you wanted me to run through the presentation, or if you would like to take, or would like to take it as read. So really happy to work with whatever the council would like to do.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the detailed presentation that you have given to us. I think it will be beneficial if you could run through it and just outline the highlights of it, perhaps, or the key points, and perhaps within 10 to 15 minutes, and then we can open up for any questions. But that's up to you. Thank you.
Papai. So I'll quickly run through because it does take some time, but I'm mindful of the council time. So the main points, the localities, there's a place-based planning for health and wellbeing services. You have the whakapapa there, which we're really keen to always talk to in regards to the Y2575 claim and the claimants that spoke to the Waitangi Tribunal, and of course the outcome was that the tribunal saw that there was a breach of the Treaty of Waitangi by failing to design and administer primary health care, Māori health inequities, and failing to give effect to the treaty's guarantee of tino rangatiratanga. The health and disability review, again, another reason for the health reform, was charged again looking at a system-wide approach. The outcome from that review was that the services needed to be planned more. Key here was the engagement with communities for better connections to other agencies, and about the impact of social and cultural determinants of health. So it wasn't just about health in itself. So in 2021, of course, the reform was raised, putting greater emphasis on, again, primary health care and fair access for all in regards to health. The Pai Ora Legislation Act took effect as of 1 July 2022. Of course, that alongside, within the Pai Ora Act, the Healthy Futures Act, was the recognition of the roles of iwi Māori partnership boards, and of course yourselves as the local authorities, local territorials, has been able to support the success of the Healthy Futures Act. So the health system reform wants to achieve 5 system shifts: equity, people and whānau-centred care, partnership with Māori, excellence and sustainability. And to the right, you'll see the diagram that sort of breaks down those 5 key areas. Within Pai Ora 2, it brought in 2 new entities, being, of course, Te Aka Whai Ora and the Whaikaha, Ministry for Disabled People. So the 4 on the left of the screen are the Crown entities, and of course the iwi Māori Partnership Board being the partner in regards to Te Tiriti o Waitangi. And also the importance of them being able to monitor and support the whānau voice. So the role of the iwi Māori Partnership Boards, one is to determine the locality boundaries. So in the Pai Ora Act, underneath the 15 iwi Māori Partnership Boards that have been gazetted, there are copies of their gazetted lines or map, the area that they said this is our entities, this is our tribal community. And so now that that was gazetted, the second part of the determination is to actually start to draw the health lines within inside the gazetted boundary line. So the lines, the health planning lines, are to take into consideration, of course, the natural communities, population size, local government, territorial boundaries, and service delivery coverage areas and natural patient flows. So this is the determination steps. One, again, it sits with the IMPBs. Once they've done their health lines, then we come to share it with the local authorities in step 2. And in this part, we bring along the representation of the iwi Māori Partnership Board. So Te Whatu Ora, Te Aka Whai Ora are very clear that we're here to enable and support, not to drive and decide. So that will be in a relationship. And in this step, we already know that iwi Māori iwi have very good relationships with their local councils, the local authorities. So we're here to support them. Step 3, Te Whatuora and Taka Whaiora will then look at the provisional boundaries. So again, the key here is provisional. The community need to be part of the next part of the conversation in regards to a consultation on how they draw up these lines. And we've had some really good learnings in regards to how iwi and the relationship of their wider community, when they call a hui, many will come. And once the community have had a look at the health lines and understand what this all means for them, it then comes back to Te Whatuora, to Whaiora boards to have a look at it, and then they'll approve it. And the locality boundary health lines will be then put up onto the website. So the key for this is the health lines are not they can be reviewed in a year. So if after a year there needs to be some changes, then that can happen. The gazetted lines cannot. That takes a whole process because they're actually legislated. So commissioning here, we just wanted to sort of give an example of the commissioning cycle is at the design system of care. This is where the engagement with whānau community voices. So the first part of it is, what are we assessing? So we need to go out and see what are the health priorities, health and wellbeing priorities for your community, your whānau Māori, the community that's within your regions. When we go to the agree in health and wellbeing, once the priorities have been put together and everybody agrees, and so there's a table of decision makers that will say, yep, that's good, and the engagement, and I'll sort of talk to the engagement process of who. Once that's sort of been received, it will then be handed over to Te Whatuora, who will then implement a plan around those priorities. Coming further through will be, of course, the procurement process of who's going to achieve those priorities. And then the fourth stage in the monitoring part is where the IMPBs, the iwi Māori Partnership Boards, where they come to monitor and hold to account that actually what the priorities that we receive from the whānau voice and the services that have picked them up, have they changed? Has it improved? That's that quality assurance process. So the localities itself, here it is a new feature, although there's been localities, not a new word in this system, but certainly the approach is going to be different. And really the key here is, again, is to enable local communities of whānau to influence the design, funding and delivery of their local healthcare services. So Te Whatuora will support all people living in the localities to say what they need to be able to live well and thrive in their community. So to be well in where they live, and the iwi Māori Partnership Boards will ensure whānau Māori living in the locality are supported and say what they need. Now, the key here is that by mid-2024, that every community in New Zealand will be part of a locality. So the supports provided by Te Whatuora and Taka Whaiora is the partnering. So again, being really clear how important iwi Māori Partnership Boards are and our relationships and coming alongside them and supporting them in regards to the healthcare planning and the understanding. Working with the local stakeholders, mana whenua. So we say here to establish a locality partnership group. So once, when I talked about the locality boundary health lines being determined and approved, once those are done, then you'll need to set up a locality partnership group, which can be made up of many of the sectors, being yourselves as the local government, mana whenua, whaikaha, our disabled whānau, rural, aged, rangatahi. So it's actually, and other ethnicities. So it's making up the community that lives, the community makeup of people that live within your community, sorry. Providing resources and data. So again, they'll need access to all the information which Te Whatuora and Taka Whaiora are working on at the moment in regards to digital services. Collaborating with our Hauora Māori services, because again we note how they stood up really well within COVID and every other sort of health aspects for their people. So very critical in the systems and services for our people. Again, aligning the provisions with hospitals and specialist services. So when we're talking about health lines, and I said these lines can be reviewed and changed, they're also lines that don't prohibit your community and your whānau moving to hospitals far north or south. So they're not boundaries of old where DHB said, no, you can't come in here. Well, it's all gone. So communities, whānau can move wherever the services are and whatever services they wish to uptake. And also the engagement of that collective impact of with other government agencies. So while Te Whatu Ora and Te Aka Whai Ora, the health, you know, interested in the health care of our people, there's also the social determinants that need to be supported. So that collective bringing in housing. So again, we sort of identify some of the key learnings we've had with prototypes. Housing was one. So if who do we need on that table would be the Ministry of Housing, Kāinga Ora, etc., etc. And so you want them to be on the locality partnership group. And I'm talking about prototypes. So these are the 12 prototypes that started about 20 months ago. And we've got some really good learnings of what to do and what not to do. However, so part of the process with learning from the prototypes is establishing toolkits to ensure that the future localities that are coming are actually got some support there. So we're in the second tranche of localities. There's 22 coming on board, and then there'll be a third wave post-December. So again, some of the learnings, like I said, housing has been a priority. Access to GP services, mama pepe, mental health for rangatahi, aged care. So there's a lot that are coming from the 12 prototypes from the whānau engagement to date. Some more key learnings in regards to, again, relationships are really key. Without those key relationships, things won't move. So iwi relationships with local council, local territorials, being able to speak to the lived experiences and actually getting engagement with their communities has been a lot more easier. But again, and I've raised this many times about community fatigue of engagement, whilst I think it's the intentions, the purpose and the intention has to be right, but certainly having iwi within the space and calling meetings. Again, we saw some really good learnings from Taranaki and the amount of people that turned up when they wanted to discuss and actually present on their locality boundary lines and the good relationships they had with their council. And of course, it's about achieving health equity for Māori due to the commitment to Te Tiriti and building and supporting community leadership. So there's some funding to be able to support the localities to be established. So it's gone are the days where we expect communities to do it on their own bats. So certainly health will be putting in some supports for the locality establishment. And again, when I talked about the makeup of your community, we're talking about Tangata Whaikaha, Pacifica, other ethnic communities, rural rainbows, representation. If I sort of step to the side in regards to the iwi Māori partnership boards, so iwi Māori partnership boards across Aotearoa, you know, you could have 6 or 7 iwi in one IMPB, you could have less. But what the role of IMPBs is to receive the feedback or priorities from their iwi Māori based on their iwi whakapapa, and so they'll feed it directly into the IMPB. The locality partnership groups are actually set up to get everybody else's voices, and that's what I mean. Whilst Māori do sort of have whānau that exists within this potential representation, we've got to be mindful that this is about for all New Zealanders. So that's how the for all will happen in regards to the locality partnership groups. So having decision makers on that table to be able to make sure that, you know, there's some budget sitting in each pool, and we say health budget will sit there, the local government's budget will sit there, housing will sit there. So that's the type of an example that locality partnership groups can really support their own communities. And then here I've spoken a little bit more, I've spoken about how the process is, and it sort of aligns to the determination process in box 1, the establishment of local partnership boards, engaging with whānau Māori, the community-wide, and then the delivery and the alignment of funding from, in this case, health. So we're just saying, you know, it's about being working cohesively, collectively for the responses of a healthier community and what their needs are. So we've gone away from the one size fits all. And this is the regional integration team. So we just want to show you who are the important people within your community in regards to health. So we got your regional wayfinders, and to the right in the blue. So for Te Manawataki, it is Nicola Eho. And then we've got all the important people. So what we've said to every council and who we've had is, these are the people, if you want to know anything, that's their name. The emails will be there if you click on it, and so you can have direct access to them. So that's the presentation, open for questions. And what TA and I have done is that she generally will answer the questions so that we don't cross over. So kia ora.
Kia ora, thank you very much. Are there any questions following that presentation? Yes, Ben Luca.
Well, I keep on asking this question, but I'll ask it again. We talk a lot about health equity. And I'm just wondering how we can do that if we have a health system that's inherently two-tiered. It's essentially a class-based system. 35% of our population has got private health insurance. 65% doesn't. So we're a hybrid system. So you've emphasised the ethnic elements, and I'm worried about the class elements, because the treatment you get in our system depends on your wallet size. So I would say, you mentioned one size fits all, and I would like to see one wallet fits all. So how can you talk about equity when it's inherently inequitable to start with? That's my question. And how are we going to change that?
That's actually a good question. Thank you. And I guess how we're going to change it, well, time will tell, because given the recent events of today, it's likely to throw a spanner in the works of all of the work that we've put in to date. But I just want to acknowledge that, yes, there's massive inequities that exist in our health system at the current time, and they have for a long, long time. And I guess the localities concept itself was to try and put our communities at the center of the planning and design. So, you know, it may take time for that input, that community input, to achieve what we want it to achieve in terms of producing equitable outcomes for all of the people in those communities. But I guess the fact that they've never been asked to provide that input in the first place is one step, you know, toward achieving that. That's never really been there before. I mean, we all know that the vote health budget is finite, and we need to, you know, find more or better ways to optimize that funding. And the localities approach does that as well by saying, you know, communities, what are the issues, which ones relate to health, and all the ones that don't fit within the vote health budget, you know, who can we then partner with to try and further those funding envelopes so that we're, you know, it's not all reliant on one area, or that we're all, you know, we're collectivizing, I guess, in some way to finding solutions.
I have supplementary. If no one else has got any questions, I'll open this floor and I'll come back.
Thank you. Me too, Nui.
Tēnā kōrua, hura haumanga iwi o Ngāti Tū Whare toa mai tū hoi te rarua me Ngāti Whene. E kawera hau e mako ana, ko ngā reta tū hau. Thank you for your presentation. Ladies, indeed, I believe we actually met at Lake Karapiro in a Zone 2 meeting, perhaps the 12th of May. It's not perhaps, I do actually know that from my calendar. And we raised at the time, there was a conversation with all of the councils who are part of the Zone 2 collective group with questions about health reform and what is happening in that space. That the iwi Māori Partnership Board, and I have been warned by my representative not to make it an acronym, so I find it interesting that it isn't an acronym within the presentation. If that's okay, we can have that discussion. We did actually find our representative for Kawerau at home. It's not hard, the Hauora is actually just right across the road from council. If I can invite you ladies, please, on slide 16 of your presentation, which is page 37 for our agenda here in the room. I'm interested in a number of things because I still have outstanding questions of what progress we have. I have constant questions from my community, but if we can step that out on, I think it's document title slide 16, that has the first localities named there. There are 12, I believe. Are we able to bring that up? Sorry, if it was a corner, is that possible, please? Oh, sorry, I was sharing the screen.
Did you want me to bring it up?
Please.
We're just going to see if we can bring it up on the side. Oh, there we go.
So thank you. I just see the 12 first localities are there, and forgive me, Your Worship, Mayor Moore. I see in the description on the left-hand side that the Toirāwhiti or Portuguese locality is named. However, the confusion that's been created in my community is on the map, it's referred to the entire Eastern Bay of Plenty. So I do still have the same question that I posed and raised in May. Is it a Toirāwhiti or Portuguese locality, or is it actually the Eastern Bay? Because in my community, the map is showing that it is the entire Eastern Bay. Apologies also to Your Worship, Mayor Victoria Luka. I'm just looking for some clarity, please, as to which one it is. One suggests just the description for Toirāwhiti suggests just the Portuguese locality, and congratulations, Your Worship. However, the map is suggesting an entire inclusion of the Eastern Bay. Can I just get some clarity, please, because it's causing confusion for those who are seeking progress on the health reforms in my community?
No, absolutely. And I can definitely clarify that one, the map on the right that shows the first 12 localities was, I guess the original intention was for it to cover 3 different, if I remember, TLAs or district boundaries, but I can confirm it is actually just the Opotiki district for that particular locality prototype. And thanks for bringing that to my attention. We will have that map amended.
That is a re-raising that same, but if we could have that updated, it just makes it far clearer who the localities are, and we look forward to progress for our community, so you can simply let us know. I'm of course also interested in the progress in the boundary determination steps. I understand we're at step 1, and again for Kawerau. I'm very, very keen to understand when we can expect step 2, which is the engagement with the local authority, because we're not there yet, or if we are, I don't know about it, which would be surprising in my community.
So I can confirm that the Iwi Māori Partnership Board in that area, which is Te Moana Toi, which covers the Opotiki district, the Kawerau district, part of the Whakatane district, Western Bay of Plenty, and Tauranga City, they are still yet to validate their recommendations, which is step 1. And so that's probably why you haven't heard from us in Kawerau specifically, because we're still waiting on that. However, what Endine and I have done, and what today actually is for those who we haven't been able to get in front of, it's just socializing the localities approach until we can come back with some actual map recommendations from the Iwi Māori Partnership Board for local authority, I guess, comment or feedback or ratification.
If I could just be clear, ladies, that's not just a mayor of the community or mayors of the communities, that's actually people within our communities asking the house of the local authority or council that's actually who also needs to be informed about what stage we're at and the health reform. And my final question, Worship, is in the regional integration team. I'm not sure who the Paupaki connection would be for Kawerau. I did actually put this under this agenda, share it with our koroa. He couldn't figure it out either. So for Kawerau, are we considered Te Manawataki as in Stuart Ngātai, or for again, forgive me team, for Kawerau, are we considered central as in Te Ikarua, please?
So Te Whatuora has 4 different health regions, of which every council and this particular hui at the moment is considered part of Te Manawataki. So it would be Stuart Ngātai for Te Akawhaiora and Nikale'eho for Te Whatuora. So they co-lead that regional integration team for Te Manawataki.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wasn't sure. That's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I also just had a question around the locality partnership groups. Is that where you wish to see mayors or councils playing a part in providing support there? I think you mentioned something in your presentation, so I just want to make clear what you seek from us as well.
It's completely up to you, really. I mean, the locality partnership group at this point in time, given the learnings that we've had from the 12 prototypes, it's usually made up of community leaders, and some of our prototypes have mayors sitting on there. Some of them have local board members. But yeah, it's completely up to what you can actually, commit to in terms of capacity. But in the legislation, we are required to come and consult around potential boundaries of localities, and then come back around again to consult around the locality planning process with the likes of yourself. So you'll see a lot more of us, should the current concept and current work program stay the course, given the results of today.
Thank you very much. And I did have our local iwi Māori partnership board in Toshiro reach out to us, so myself and Deputy Mayor and our interim CEO did have a conversation with them, which was helpful for us to understand what their money is as well. So we've got another question from Mayor Tūnui, and then we'll go back to Mayor Luca.
Thank you, Your Worship. I did note, ladies, in the presentation there was a reference to the local government budget with all the other budgets, with all the partners that would be sitting in some collective. You may or may not be aware that all councils are in quite an exhaustive, robust process of setting 10-year plans and work with associated budgets to it. Can I just understand what the reference was in regards to local government budget commitments that you referred to in your presentation, please?
Sorry, Endon, can you flip to that slide? Just while we're doing that, everything that we're funding as part of the localities concept and approach is coming out of Vote Health. It's just that some of the learnings and some of the priorities that are coming out of our locality prototypes don't sit within the Vote Health budget. So like I said before, we would have to lean on our partners that actually have the remit to do that, but in no way, shape or form are we expecting local governments to be dipping into their coffers to do anything that's health specific as part of the localities approach. Which slide is that reference on?
I didn't see it on a particular slide, but I did hear it throughout the presentation, Your Worship.
Thank you, and thank you for providing that clarity in the response. Mayor Luca, and then please let me know if anybody has any questions or.
It's just some reflections or commentaries. And then you mentioned that there is not limitless money to spend on health. Now, in 1970 in this country, we used to spend 5% of GDP on health. We currently spend 9%. In the US, they used to spend 6% in 1970, they currently spend 20%. The US health system is essentially completely privatised. Our one seems to be heading in that direction too, and not just insofar as what people pay out with private health insurance, but also in terms of the delivery of services. So specialty services are well on the road to being, many of them well on the road to being privatised, and I've got data that suggests that's the case. If we want to talk so much about equity, I think that that's another aspect that we need to address in a serious way, and we're not. Anyway, it's my rant for the day.
Thank you. Cheerleader.
Thank you, Chair. Tēnā koroa, ladies. It's more of a comment than a question. So, with the benefit of experience, ladies, primary healthcare initiative is not new. It started well before 2021. And I say that on the basis of participating in what was known as the CHEES, and then they became the district health boards, and it's a great initiative. What I'm a bit concerned about is that you've got to be careful that you don't overpromise and underdeliver, because whilst this initiative is meritorious, I would suggest that your ability to resource to the level that you're suggesting is going to be really challenging. You understand the challenges in front of the health industry, you know, better than I do, in terms of the personnel, the commitment, the stresses they're under. But you know, I do acknowledge that primary healthcare intervention at place is essentially the best doorway to prevent that level 1, level 2 intervention at hospitals. Kia ora, ladies.
Kia ora, thank you. Were there any final comments? No, there appears to be none. Look, thank you very much, ngā mihi nui te Akorua, MD, and also te Ina. We really appreciate you presenting in person by Zoom. Ko Kāore Kanangi Te Kanahi, even though it's not in person, face to face, we do appreciate you taking your time out of your day. Thank you very much, and we wish you all the best.
Kia ora.
Thank you. We now move to our next presentation. This is from Sea Cleaners, looking after our environment. So I'd like to invite to our presenters table, Hayden Smith. Do we also have Jamie? Yes, would you like to join, or you got this? You've got this, apparently. We do have this as an attachment as well, but we invite you to overview your presentation. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. Tēnā koutou, ko hikaroa te maunga, ko waikuiki te wao, te awa, ko whakapuruki te whakatete marae, ko ngā tāhu te iwi, ko Hayden Smith. Thank you for the opportunity for us to share in the story of what we are doing and what we have been doing now. Next week, I'm approaching 21 years of cleaning up our waterways. Yes, I'd like to acknowledge Jamie Reid from the PMT Fund, who is based in Tauranga and is helping us establish a program in the Bay, or in the greater region for that matter. And I'd also like to acknowledge and apologise on behalf of Paul Bennett as well as Sir Bob Harvey, who were both looking to join us and be a part of this program. As Bob is one of our patrons and certainly has been involved since day one. In fact, he helped kickstart the program by taking the initial concept with me to the initial Mayoral Forum in Auckland back in 2002 to start the program. So I'm humbled to be able to actually sit here with this Mayoral Forum to share in what we're doing as well. And of course, Paul Bennett is just unable to make it again, so I actually had a clash of timings that came about, unfortunately. But Paula is one of our trustees and has been a great support with bringing this project to life and the intention to bring it to life within the Bay of Plenty. So when we first started, it started with one boat on the Waifmata Harbour. We were given the opportunity to go out and prove what I had seen and what I said we could do, which was to get out, clean up our waterways, engage communities, and really start to make a real difference for what we're doing and what we're seeing within our oceans. At that particular time, there was no knowledge, there was no understanding, there was no reason to believe that plastics in our ocean even existed. If we go back to 2002, it was almost a problem that was hidden away in the tide line up in the upper estuaries of the population centres, as it still is today, unfortunately. But with regards to what we've been able to achieve to get in there and pull it out, we've been able to show day in, day out that action to engage the community, get volunteers on our boats, and to provide a platform and a resource to be able to show how simple it is to actually get out there and make a difference and be measurable in everything we do every single day. Has been one of the time and two to our teams that have been out there doing the work. So if we take a few years stepping forward into time and knowing that one boat was really not just enough to stand fast with the rising tide of plastics that we were facing, we established a national trust that was able to take what was initially the Waitemata Harbour Cleanup Trust to now be a national body, the Sea Cleaners Trust, to multiply the program throughout the country, to add new boats into new regions to enable the work that we do to be done elsewhere. So currently we have 5 boats working full time. We have one that is based up in Northland and covers the entire Northland region. There is another on Auckland, still on Auckland's Waitemata Harbour, another on the Manukau Harbour, another that we had out what we call the Auckland Outer Limits, which actually covers the northern Waikato, Coromandel Peninsula, goes up into the South Kaipara Harbour, and the surrounding areas that the other vessels cannot or do not get to. And then finally we have a vessel down in Canterbury that is just approaching the end of year 1 of operation for them as well. What we were lucky enough to be, acknowledged as, is we were the official legacy program of Emirates New Zealand and the America's Cup this last year in 2021, and that enabled us to build 6 new boats that we have been missioned with to spread around the rest of the country. So we have a fleet of 10, and we have 5 more boats that are standing ready to go to be able to be donated into the regions to actually get underway and just start cleaning up immediately with local people, local skippers, local deckhands that we would look to employ to bring in to help us do what we do. We would train them up so that we know that they can show them and be a part of it with them to be able to go into local schools, speak to local churches, different Sea Scouts in general, Cubs of all different descriptions, and get them all involved to be a part of it, to help understand. And I guess if I take a step back to when we first launched and when we were first working in those schools and speaking to those 10, 11-year-old, 12-year-old kids at local intermediate schools, most of those kids have probably now got children of their own that are also in school that we are now still presenting to. So whilst we are unfortunately still seeing enormous quantities of debris wash down through the local stormwater systems and they come down through the local tributaries every time it rains, whether it be from rubbish bins overflowing, whether it's recycling bins blown over in storms, that debris ends up going down through the stormwater system and into the local bodies of water. And unfortunately, wherever there's a population centre, no one is immune from this issue. In fact, if even walking along the lake edge and service, doing a bit of reconnaissance work, surveying about 100 metres, there was car tyres underwater. I could see there was jandals, there was shoes, there was chip packets, there was a road cone, and it is consistent no matter where we go. It is just a reality that unfortunately people don't see it. They turn a blind eye to it, but it's certainly something that is a part of who we are and what we're out there to do every single day with what we're doing. Our teams have we like to, I guess, call it a quota. It's not that as such, but we have an expectation that each team each day is able to collect around 2,000 litres of rubbish. That's 2 cube of rubbish a day, which seems to be consistent across all of the teams that we have, which enables us to bring in, on average, per boat, per territory, per month, around 40,000 litres of rubbish that comes out of the local waterway. That's almost 1.5 shipping containers full of blue litter that comes off the shores and the estuaries of the local regions that we're working in. I'd also like to share with you, I guess, what we are totally focused on the local work and what we're doing. We certainly have an understanding of the impact of what we are doing from a global perspective as well, with regards to understanding that what we are picking up in and around our own shores is indeed having a positive impact on what is or therefore isn't flowing out into the midst of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch and out into the wider Pacific, and in amongst that, I guess our chance to try and further educate communities on what we're doing across the wider spectrum of the Pacific. We have been blessed to be able to run a youth ambassador program with the support of the Hawaiian Tourism Authority and Hawaiian Airlines, by which we are able to take students from New Zealand, Australia, Japan, out of mainland America, up to the Hawaiian Islands to help clean up those Hawaiian shores, have them understand the impact of what the Pacific Rim's waste is doing and where it's ending up. We take them into schools and give them the opportunity to learn how to speak in front of a crowd of students, so that when they go home, they are tasked and with the opportunity to be able to share in their learnings and hopefully again change that tide of grime on our coastline around the world. So we do have a video there which explains that. It would be quite a nice break, I guess you could say, for a moment to be able to share that. Are we able to scroll down through the next videos down? Sorry, we actually have just had a recent update of the website, and I'm not 100% familiar with it, apologies, but if you just scroll down until you find the video sections. And keep going down one more. It should be the. It's not come up onto this. Scroll up again, sorry. No, the video has actually been uploaded. It should have been, apologies for that. I'll leave that there for the moment. I can at least send a link through to you to share with that going forward. Within actually that photo actually is a great symbol of also, I guess, not only working with the youth, but the one below that as well was that we run a training program with the Royal New Zealand Navy. Every new recruit that comes into the Royal New Zealand Navy, we run a training exercise for them as part of their humanitarian aid training. So throughout the country, where these recruits are doing their training exercises, we're able to get them out there. Particular focus out on Great Barrier Island, and an example of what we picked up in one day by that team out across the coast. For us, not only working with the Royal New Zealand Navy in that particular space for the recruit training, with New Zealand, we were fortunate enough to be able to host now King Charles when he was here in 2019, and what has come from that, and unfortunately due to COVID, plans didn't go quite the way forward as they were meant to, but it is actually helping us to multiply that program throughout every Commonwealth naval fleet to ensure that we can at least get some global traction with that as well. But again, primarily our focus is doing everything we can here locally, focusing our efforts here, and with regards to who we have been in touch with in the Bay of Plenty, if I just draw the attention back here specifically for you and what we're trying to achieve, we need to be able to raise $300,000 a year to support each team to operate in those particular regions. It has been a challenge to do so as we continue to grow, but I think in the first instance, having such an opportunity to share it across the entire region here with all of you is a special opportunity in itself. We have got support from the Port of Tauranga, along with Swire Shipping, looking to commit. However, before they do so, they want to make sure that everyone else is coming on board as well, that the regional council is happy, all of the city councils are happy to do so before they are able to commit in that manner. Along with that, we've spoken with the Bay Trust as stands on top of that tent, all who are extremely interested in helping us try to reach that magic $300,000 a year to provide that full employment for the staff, all the running costs for the boat, and really enable us to establish that the longevity, hopefully, to be able to put our boats and cruise into position. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions and take that from down this at the moment.
Thank you very much, Hayden. Thank you for your presentation. Are there any questions? I suppose I'll start with did you say that you have 5 boats ready to go within regions of New Zealand?
Correct. Yes, the Bay of Plenty region being one, the Wellington region being another, Marlborough, Tasman and Otago is where we see the others going to.
Thank you. And just to be clear, with the Port of Tauranga interested in your seeking support, what does that support look like from us? Is it electoral support? Is it any support?
Look, at the end of the day, we need money to run the boats. We need money to be able to employ those locals, staff members to be able to operate the boats and do everything we do. We know that certainly a letter of support to the Port of Tauranga to start with, and those to let them know that we have your support is there. And of course, if you're able to consider funding opportunities spread across the region, I know that if I go back to 2002 when we did start this, there was no one council that came to the party by themselves. It was a collective that made it happen and was enabling us to get started in that first instance.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Me, Luca.
Not really a question, but some commentary. Well, first of all, thanks very much for that. I applaud your enthusiasm and your dedication and everything you're doing, and it's fantastic. But you're really talking about mostly the plastics you can see with the naked eye. There's much talked about microplastics, and when it comes to microplastics, I read a research article that suggests 30% of microplastics come from car tires, tire wear particles. I could ask you what the solution you might have for that, but I doubt there's an easy one. There are some things being worked on, but is it on your radar? Will you, it's something we need to be concerned about, because for all the rubbish we pick up, there's that invisible stuff that's on the road that ends up in the atmosphere, in waterways and out to sea, and injected by us, or actually, taken in breathing. So I think there's a serious problem to be addressed at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. I certainly don't have the silver bullet for the car tyre issue. I know that it's not just car tyre, rubber and those microplastics, but you've got brake dust and everything else that goes down through those same heavy metals, I guess, going down through the same waterway networks. So our clothing through washing is releasing microfibers of all descriptions. There is, I guess, again, an enormous tide of microplastics coming at us in the same way. So for us, we know that from what we've experienced, collecting the plastic debris from the shoreline, actually stopping it from breaking down and breaking up, into smaller and smaller pieces, we know that we've had and have been able to make a significant impact. And again, I know you have our quarterly report and have been able to see the photos of what we're doing day in, day out, the stats and the figures that are in there, just again, the reality of what we're facing with our day-to-day operation, and again, bringing it to everyone's attention as much as possible is the number one thing for us.
Yeah, we've got Rex Remundi and then Commissioner Tolly.
Kia ora, Hayden. Thank you for your presentation and for coming in this afternoon. Around the ask that you've proposed to the table for the regions we are currently operating, which is Northland, Waitemata Harbour, Manukau, the outer limits of Auckland, which you described as roughly the Coromandel and Kaipara, and the Canterbury regions. Are there arrangements with the local authorities and councils in there?
Yes,
that would perhaps just be helpful in terms of the ask that you have for elected members to understand what arrangements they have in place and how they enable that with all the other whole of portfolio responsibilities that sit under council.
Of course.
If there's an appetite to share, that would inform the question that you posed before us today. Thank you.
Thank you. Certainly the two vessels that are based in the centre of Auckland on the Waitangi and Manukau Harbour are actually solely funded by the council. Both of them are. The Outer Limits vessel is actually being funded by the Coca-Cola Foundation out of Atlanta as part of their foundation support for what we're doing. We've had support from the Northland Regional Council for the last 6 years that we've been operating. There are thereabouts in the Northern region, as well as the Far North District Council, and looking down to Canterbury, with Environment Canterbury being the regional council there, and Christchurch City Council. All the latter four being all significantly different quantums, from 1 or 2 being at 25,000 a year to 75 up to 300,000 per boat as well. So it really is a matter of cutting the cloth and fit, I think, for each of those particular districts, and it may fit for the quantum that we're under. And then we match it and do what we can to bring in other philanthropic funders, other corporate support for what we're doing, and really constantly filling out grant application forms to try and keep the pot spinning on these boats. Do what we need to do.
Thank you, Commissioner Tolley.
So I was going to ask, how much you're looking for, but I guess it really comes down to all the councils will be involved in setting their 10-year plans, their long-term plans. Are you going to be making submissions through to those? And it would probably help if you're coming with a particular figure in mind that would ease those conversations as we're discussing, because we can't make a decision here. It would have to go through the process, and I think it would be helpful. Certainly, I mean, congratulations on the work that you've done, but it would certainly be helpful for councils to sort of see that and understand that. I know it's a pain to go around and make submissions, but I think it would be helpful.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We have Nick Junior followed by me.
Yeah, I think my comment was pretty similar or on the same lines to this. And I was just wondering, some fundamentally supportive, it's a good initiative, but whether we need the coordination and consideration within the context of each of our LTPs, whether it's something we can do at Class Cs to coordinate that amongst themselves. I mean, it might not make sense for you to have half a dozen submissions and do that separately, and just make sure that it's coordinated through the Cs so that it's more efficient for everyone involved.
It would be sincerely appreciated if we've got one channel to be able to have that communication line. Would be very supportive to enable that. If you're able to help with that, it would be appreciated.
Thank you. I'll take that on board. Me, Luca.
I'm just wondering if you think we're doing enough in the educational space, because and what could we do extra anyway? Maybe raising consciousness, but how much of this waste do you think is just accidental, and how much of it is people just taking stuff? What is it as to the origins of it?
Yeah, there's two questions in that. I guess first of all, the rubbish quantities. It's a real mixed bag. It is hard to tell when the debris has come down into the mangroves and the estuaries where we are. However, when we're there and we're finding milk bottles, people are not walking down the street drinking 2 litres of milk and throwing a milk bottle on the ground for it to go down that way. It's come out of the recycling system, whether it's either fallen out of the truck or whether it's actually the wind has blown over those recycling bins. So therefore, it's really hard to get that quantum of understanding the exact breakdown and where it's come from. There's no unfortunate poker note, there's no message in the bottle that we're looking for to tell us exactly where it's come from. So that is the general waste stream, I think, that is failing for that. I think the fact that, and I know that this is obviously a revenue stream that has to be managed, but waste disposal costs come into that equation as well, and how much fly tipping and dumping down riverbanks and into estuaries happens. We see it all over the country with that happening. So that's definitely not accidental, but that's a lot of the time through the inability to be able to pay the tip fees you get in the door. I know that we have been gratefully supported across the regions. We've been able to go in and unload our boats on a daily basis with waste disposal. Actually, and to add to that, if I may as well, we've actually created a partnership with Northland Waste and Future Post, a group who are retaking all types of plastic and converting them into farm and fence hoses, so agricultural and for horticultural, all different types. The volume of what we're collecting, and just as an average, we're picking up around 40 tonnes of this light plastic a month, and Future Post are now receiving over 80 tonnes a month of plastic waste from Northland Waste, who are receivers of about half of our waste. We've convinced them to share that rubbish or send that rubbish to Future Post to be turned into new products. They're now mining their landfills and diverting plastics to be able to do that. So we're trying to encourage them to do everything we possibly can on that back end of the program as well. And then when it comes to the educational side of it, we are constantly seeking as much media attention as we can to help us share that story far and wide. We are currently delivering to 80,000 students a year through a program we've developed with Nestle and the School Kit program that goes out to primary schools and gets the kids out cleaning up their school grounds and their communities, getting under the prefab classes and cleaning them behind the bushes to actually make that difference, but equally understanding where their drains flow to, what's the geographical watershed of their region. So we know that it's still not enough, and that there are so many different avenues that need to be approached in regards to that we certainly have and will do and continue to do and do as much as we can from an education space. We can't just be the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff. We have to be building things at the top of the hill, and that's what we're doing. So,
Yeah, thanks for what you're doing.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for what you're doing. I do note that the sea cleaners,
Yes.
but as the Rotorua Lakes Council, look, we have beautiful lakes, but the thing with lakes and water bodies that it doesn't flow anywhere. It can stay there, and we do find, unfortunately, at times there's plastic or pollution that has been there at times for generations. When you look at how some of those milk cartons or bottles may be. So I do have a question, as you are asking about plenty, Mayors. Have you ever, or would you ever consider, even just for a short period of time, looking at cleaning up lakes or potentially even rivers?
Absolutely. I should have said that along the way. I'm sorry. The vessels we have are all trailer boats now that we are able to tow them from the main base, wherever that may be, to be able to launch on the rivers and in the rivers or on the lakes to go out and clean up, whether it be Taupo or here in Mayoral or wherever it may be within the region. We have no jurisdiction that we cannot overcome with that space, so our focus is purely to clean up waterways and stop rubbish actually entering the ocean one way or another.
Excellent, thank you very much. I'll just ask if there are any final questions or comments. We'll go Mayor Luca and then Commissioner Tolley.
It's a curly one. Are you measuring your fuel consumption? Because, I mean, if you've got to use a ton of fuel to collect a ton of plastic, it sort of doesn't make much sense.
Absolutely. Look, we run efficient engines. We've got new engines on the boats. We're well looked after by Mercury in that space, so we've always been looked after with the most efficient commercial engines that we can have to operate. Across the fleet, yes, we know that the fuel now with the 5 boats and the lease vehicles coming, the boats around, it's about a $65,000 to $70,000 spend for 5 boats at the moment in the fuel alone. With regards to the offsetting and understanding that, there's actually one other very nice piece that we're going through a complete audit of that process at the moment, because I was fortunate enough to be given a Nightingale Fellowship this year, and in that program I was given a project plan that I've had to develop, and amongst that project plan, one of the components was to develop a sustainable funding model, so we don't have to be doing this everywhere we go. And inside that sustainable funding model, we've latched onto and have been progressing with the plastic credits. So for every tonne of waste that we pull out, we're able to sell that to producers who are buying these credits to offset their production, but not just a 1 tonne for 1 tonne removed, one produced. We're actually looking to remove 3 tonnes for every 1 tonne brought out. And in the auditing and processing of that, the fuel consumption and the entire program is measured down to the micro level of every piece of rubbish that's in our rubbish bag. So yes, we are over that and are working as best we can for that. We find that most of the time our boats are used just as transport to get from point A to point B. We then turn the boats off while we go ashore and work the coastline to clean up. So always doing our best to be as efficient and as mindful as we possibly can.
Well, you guys are really onto it. Thanks again.
Thank you, Commissioner Tolley.
It was really just a question as to whether you were getting funding from the Waste Minimisation Fund or whatever it would be a multi. And if not, do you need our help and support to get that? Because I would have thought 300 grand a year to operate would have been well worthwhile.
That's a good answer. If I may, that we have been given the opportunity 3 times. We've been invited down to Wellington to speak to the waste minimisation program teams, have been given all the guidance and encouraged to prepare an application based on just that. And every single time we've invested the time and money to prepare those applications. They're not small applications to present, and we've always been turned down. So we've never managed to get the cut through that we're after, which has been frustrating to say the least, and we've almost, with all due respect, feel like we've turned our back on it a little bit, unless of course we can find a clear path that is going to enable us to be able to do that.
The clear path might be one of your trustees who go by a few doors.
Possibly so.
Thank you. Amelia.
Well, that's a bit of a shock, and disappointing, I have to say. What can we do to next time, say you make a pitch to the Waste Minimisation Fund, support your application?
Yeah, maybe that is again the letter of support that may be going to the Board of Current. It could be written in a way that it's actually just completely supportive of what we're doing for all applications. Support that might be a great way to embark on going forward. If I may just add one final piece to the plastic credits program and what we are trying to do within that. Not only are we trying to capture and have told the story of the waste that we're collecting, but we're actually trying to assign the recycling component of what we're doing with North Waste and Future Post, as well as trying to assign the plastic credit piece back to councils and the curbside recycling that is being done. So that gets captured in the whole picture as well. So through the volume of waste being recycled by councils and going through that waste stream, that because we will be the first organisation in the country to be plastic accredited, we are actually hoping that we are able to provide an opportunity to capture and share in your own waste streams to help fund us through the plastic credit program, obviously to a cap, which potentially means that we may be able to be ourselves funding back into council what excess comes from those plastic credits if the quantums obviously work out to be extremely positive for us.
Did I hear correctly that is a Future Post? Are they sort of absorbing everything that you guys are?
So we're sending most of our stuff, half of it to Northland Waste. Northland Waste is stripping our bags down and taking what they can, but then they're diverting just general waste streams that are coming to send down to Future Post that day. And it's made a significant difference in the fact that we're now mining landfills for that very purpose.
Right. Okay, so you can make any offensive, but
Yeah, that's right.
okay, cool.
Right. Well, and on that again through the the Eisenhower Fellowship, one of the key meetings along the way within the sustainable funding model and linking the story of the fence posts. They're not just fence posts, there's garden beds that are there. I met with IKEA and the sustainability team. IKEA are now looking at globally purchasing these garden beds to be able to be sold internationally through their market, which in turn comes back to help fund us to do what we do as well as an interim now. Yes.
Thank you very much. There appears to be no other questions or comments. Look, thank you very much, Hayden. We appreciate you taking the time. We certainly appreciate what you've already done today. And we look forward to finding a way to support you appropriately to continue that great work. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We now move into our reports in our agenda. We have our Bay Plenty Climate Risk Assessment Update and then the briefing for the Minister's update before getting into purple update. So we'll start on page 58 of our agenda. The report is to be taken as read, but Megan Wilson is on Zoom, I believe. Yep, Megan Wilson from Western Bay Plenty District Council in case we have any questions. So this is on page 58 to 63 of our agenda. Question from Commissioner.
Well, that's good. I'm trying to see my name here, the authorizer. This way, I didn't see the bit on what Tauranga has done and agreed that it was fine to go forward, but I ended up as the authorizer of the whole paper and not yet stepping back from that.
So noted, thank you.
Divorce.
It's a good report.
Yeah. Take credit.
Megan, I did just wonder, I note that we continue to see good progress on our 8 community-led adaptation projects. As that continues to be progressed, will there be future projects looked to be started or supported at any stage?
My understanding is that Regional Council will be continuing the community-led adaptation fund through into the next LTP, so hopefully yes.
Thank you. Mandy.
Some of you may have seen I made the papers the last couple of weeks about my views on National Tree, and I just wonder how we as a Mayoral forum can influence the government, new government, to move that agenda along a bit, because it was quite clear from my experiences that there's a lot of people out there, including many of my councillors, some of my councillors, just don't think mandatory is the thing. And if they put their heads in the sand, it'll go away. And I think that's something that just needs to be lifted onto the horizon. You know, I don't necessarily think it should be the government doing it, but it's central government, absolutely. Because I think we're just going to get caught out with difficult conversations if we just keep it.
Thank you, Virginia. Any comments? Maybe not. We'll take it as an excellent report. Thank you very much, Megan. We now move to our next item, briefing for incoming ministers. So this item will be presented from Nambuta Kutasi and also Anton Coppin, both from Bay Plenty Regional Council. And I believe we've got a presentation on Project Mayoral. Yes, absolutely. Okay, we'll hand over.
There's Commissioner Chair. There's Mayor Paxosi, I'm the Regional Council, Bay Plenty Regional Council, Chair Manager of Strategic Science, and we've got Anton Coppin, our Social Planning Manager. So we're on page 63 of your agendas, and this is your briefing draft, very draft, briefing for incoming ministers, a high-level 2-pager within the paper. And in terms of the benefits of a BIM, it's very much a high-level overview of the region. So it just highlights key projects that highlights key opportunities and constraints for your consideration. The list of benefits of the BIM is from page 64 of your agenda in terms of being able to clearly articulate to ministers your position in relation to the region. Also does note there are some quite complex issues which we are all facing. Provide the united and collective point as an initial introduction to this. So in terms, as I noted, it very much is a draft for your consideration. We have already had a heads up in terms of some of the projects which we'll need to look at tweaking. It was developed through information that either your teams have provided to us about what priority projects are, or through other projects. It aligns with all of your work on the spatial planning, as well as and for your future development strategy. It also builds on your previous briefing for incoming ministers as part of the business as usual for the Mayoral Forum, and attached to your paper and attachment 1 is the draft BIM for your consideration. Attachment 2 is your previous BIM, so you can see that the new BIM is very much based on that information that has been previously. Timing is very important, particularly as we're wanting to get, we'll be wanting to get ready for the new government to come in. And I just also wanted to note that the BIM really builds on your triennial agreement and the principles contained within that in relation to joint processes to engage with central government. So I'm going to hand over to Anton Coffin to just talk through Project Mayoral and talk about the year-line project.
Thank you for that. And one of the things I was really worried about is the technology. So we've got this fancy app that we've been developing and Swiss Bank, and it works at work. I was really worried when I come across the sort of, we've done a little bit of the sheet, got a little video, Jill from the team who's going to do a video, and hopefully that goes just fine. So Project Mayoral is effectively looking at what's the flow of people and freight across the region. We've been looking at some examples from North America, Vancouver, southeastern parts of the United States, also Australia, particularly Melbourne, where we're able to show really complex movements of people and freight at different times of the day, over a period of a week and over a period of the year. It's a really useful tool of sort of understanding where people are moving to help simplify a lot of really complex data and information that people will make decisions or wanting to get a sort of a feel of their transportation network. So that's something we embarked on. Seeing some of this being ones from prophecies, could we do this within our resources and in our particular context? So I'm just going to put a little bit on that, just a few slides there. I'm pushing this, but it's not weak.
So the technology is working.
So the project was the objective was to build a visual representation showing the movement of population across the region as a whole, enabling us to see patterns of movement of people and see the impact of one region on another. So we had lots of data, spreadsheets, lots of formulae, and it must be an easy way of showing this information. The project itself is a workshop about data sources that we like to represent visually. That's testing to create the best possible output. So we've got lots of people who are non-professionals in this area testing it and giving us feedback about, do you understand this? Does that actually make sense? What do you want us to do? So it's across transport, planning, all sorts of areas that they might be interested in. So we've built a prototype, we've finalized it, deployed production. Here's the application and action. So we're just looking at the Bay of Plenty here. This one's looking at data we have for looking at destination, and the destination is Mount Maunganui. And on it's Wednesday, the 17th of the 5th, and you can kind of see there's a spread of where all the people are coming from to Mount Maunganui. That's quite interesting. We used to do this. We were seeing someone that they there, where are they going to 8 to 9 in the morning? Either we tell us what a challenge it is to transmits with people going every week at the same time. That's like a consistent place for people on which to go. And what you can do with this app is you can actually hover over those customers to actually get a number of trips. This is just looking more regionally, so you can spread out and you can see both in the region, so interregionally. And we've got a lot of statistics behind it, so you can actually work out demographics. So we're looking for people between a particular age group at a particular time. So school children, parents in the afternoon, so where they're moving, Māori, different ethnicities that you might be interested in. We're able to do that. This one here is looking at Tauranga and the destination is to Elizabeth Street. It's a Saturday between 9 and 3, and looking at dwellings, so people are moving to a particular dwelling. So it just gives us different ways to use information. So at the moment, we've mainly just used 4 data sets. So these ones are freely available. So we want to test these free data rather than paying significant sums of money to see if it can work. And it's worked pretty well. We've had really good collaborations with agencies, cell phone companies who help from the start, you know, this for free, which is great. We purpose this proof of concept. So you can just see some of the mobile phone data, insight data, Statistics New Zealand, and we've got this flag outbound. And the port's been really interested in it. Just, if you want all of our sort of daily logs, you can potentially get right down to that detail if we wanted to stay in there. It's something that we want. And that was just a few slides just to give it. I could see if Jill's little presentation has got sound for it.
Through the chair, well, that's just coming out. Perhaps I'll provide a bit of a why. You're probably thinking, oh, this is interesting, but how is it related and where did it come from? It really came through. We have regular catch-ups with the general managers across your organisation, really in that sort of policy planning stage, as a desire to understand more about the flows between the different councils. Because clearly we know there's some key flows of freight movement coming from the east through to the port. We know there's a key flow coming from that Whakatane Rotorua. We know that there are some key flows coming from Rotorua over to Waikato. And there was a desire for people to want to understand what those flows look like, what kind of numbers are we looking like in a more real-time way under the Stats New Zealand information. Which is why we undertook this project. We've been providing those regular updates with your GMs and our regular meetings in terms of how it's progressing. So hopefully it'll play so you can just sort of see people moving. It's great because it's based on that.
To a quick demonstration of the Manawa Movement Explorer application. If we choose one of our data sets, for this purposes, let's choose TomTom as a weekly option. And we're going to have a look at the urban destination of Tauranga. The 2D flow map does show the pulses, so the traffic and the flow of people coming into Tauranga. Our 3D flow map gives a little bit of a more detailed view of traffic coming in, and our hover buttons show the number of trips. So here is everything coming in as a group to Tauranga. We can also extract the data and use it as we'd like. Let's have another look. Let's try TomTom hourly, and we'll pick an origin or a destination of Whakatane. And we can pick a Monday. Let's try the times between 6 AM and maybe 10. Let's have a look at the data here. So this map shows everybody with a destination of Whakatane Central. So we can see origins of, where have we got? Tarawera Park, Te Teko Lakes, Manawahi to Whakatane Central, and we can have a good look at everybody coming through to Whakatane. if we wanted to do this as an urban destination, so everything together, that kind of groups everything together. It gives us a more consolidated version, really. So Rotorua to Whakatane, there was 8 trips. This is across 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on a Monday. That's just a quick glimpse at what we can do. We can also choose which attributes we'd like to see on the map. So maybe the medium income. This gives you an idea of the incomes there, done by colours on the map. Okay, thanks for watching.
She did that for me last time. So yeah, it works really well. Obviously, they have really good Wi-Fi, and so I was like, worried coming over to public Wi-Fi, and I'm probably had to do it a week. So do it in a quick presentation. So obviously, it's using things to stand out and cover out and use it really available. We've got lots of other databases. People's intelligence. You could probably apply lots of interesting ways of being.
So we do take questions.
Thank you. So just to clarify, we've sort of got the paper on the briefing from the ministers, and then the project manual. Would you like to, I have a feeling our mayors and chairs may wish to address those items separately or together? Yep. Yes, Commissioner Tolley.
Look, I'm not going to be a killjoy, but, and I just double checked the coalition agreements. From the Western Bay perspective, we're donkey deep in developing the city deal, or whatever, you know, and that's the terminology for it. That we're working closely with Western Bay and Regional Council on a deal that's focused on economic growth. It's involving industry, quayside, and the wider development of that Western Bay region. And so for us, a BIM is only going to confuse that. I don't see us and our projects reflected here. No one really talked to us about what projects we put on here. And it doesn't reflect what we're saying to the government in our city deal or our priorities. So for me, I would have to say we don't really to be part of this. If there's going to be a BIM going to the ministers, then it should be perhaps something that's quite high level. That talks about, you know, from the regional's perspective. When I look at the one we sent in last time, parts of it were extremely high level. We all share some of the challenges, although we always told on all seems to be getting out of the homelessness, even though we have significant numbers of homeless. Some of the support services, you know, mentions everything but Tauranga. But however, that's the position really for us. We think it's going to be confusing for the incoming minister. And we'd rather just be able to focus on our city deal.
I just think I'll double check on that. As Western Bay is part of the city deal, do you have a view on this, Virginia?
Yeah, well, my comments are going to be that I see that current draft of the bill as being very much regional council focused, and I'm not aware of us having much of any input into it. So a lot of the issues are those related to regional council, which is fine as far as it goes, but it doesn't really address much in the way of district or city council issues. I don't necessarily agree that it totally confuses the city deal, but I think we just have that alignment at least, and that this bill should reflect the issues that our city deal seeks to address at the very minimum, so that it's not in conflict with what we're trying to achieve, what we're seeking to achieve from that. So I think there's a little bit more work required on this if it were to go to this.
Thank you, and I do note that staff have suggested this in the draft, although I also note that for the mayors and chairs, I think because we weren't part of contributing, I suppose it's always that balance between letting the operational get on and write a report for us and then us all at what stage are we involved. But this is the opportunity for us to provide this feedback. Chair leader followed by me.
Thank you, Chair. Can I pose a question to a previous minister? Because this doesn't actually spin my webs. You have to look at the allocation of portfolios and see the pressure that some of these people are going to be under. And the question I'm going to pose to the previous minister is, do these things get written?
Well, they do, particularly by staff.
They get dissected by staff. These are the issues. That's the first one. The second one is, this is all about the problems. And if I was a minister, I'd be sitting there, I know about the problems, you give me some solutions. And I think that's the challenge in front of us as a region. We should be, as difficult as this is, we should be solution focused rather than just pouring out, these are the issues and the problems we say. I mean, that's why I asked the previous minister. I don't think ministers would read this. I mean, how many local authorities we've got? 67, 14 regional councils. Are they going to sit down and read 70 odd members to ministers as well, all the others are going to get? I think we've just got to think differently.
Thank you, Chair Leader. Melissa.
I just looked through, say, on page 72, I've got the map and the critical issues. And I think there's a critical issue, which is, if you look for the word growth in that little program, you find it all over the place. But we seem to view growth as some sort of advantage or something. I mean, okay, one thing is economic growth, but I'll just call that prosperity, and that's all fine. But we're growing the numbers in this country. We're back on a clip of 2% per annum growth rate. And that is really the cause of most of our problems. Tauranga being a desirable place to live, people are streaming in there, and quite frankly, you can't keep up. You haven't. You won't if it carries on like that. And there's no solution. You've got to cut it off at the source. You can grow, but only at such a rate that you can actually keep up with the development of infrastructure. So I would say there needs to be, some supplication in there to tell the new Minister of Education or implore her, is it Erica Stanford, to check our migration settings, because of our 2% per annum growth, probably the lion's share of it is net migration, which we have some control over. I'm not trying to stop people from coming in, but if you can't keep up with the development of infrastructure, then what are we doing? We're just hanging ourselves. I'm okay as long as we put a gate at Maratā and keep all the once undesirable place to live, like Auckland has become, they'll want to travel east. So anyway, I think we should have something about it in there, because it is really the problem.
Thank you for that feedback. And the BIM for consideration is for page 66, 67. The other ones, like the one that you do growth everywhere, are the previous BIMs. But I take on board what Chair Leader has mentioned on the suggestion of being solutions focused. But I also think that perhaps we should be clear on what we wish to or what we would be hoping to achieve as part of doing a BIM for a region. Commissioner Todd.
Look, I think Doug is absolutely right, and from I didn't mean to be flippant, but the reality is all the councils, we just had UNISA, they're all going to give their BIMs. There'll only be a couple that will actually go to the minister, and Auckland will be number one. The rest will be read by officials and will be collated. And look, the reality is the minister's going to be, or Parliament's going to be an urgency between now and Christmas. They've got a huge agenda in front of them. So if the difficulty I think we have as a region is that we actually have some very different needs and some very different solutions. That's my worry. So Western Bay is developing its set of solutions, but they're not necessarily going to fit with the Eastern Bay solutions, and that's not going to fit with Rotorua. We've just heard sea cleaners talking about, you know, boats in the sea, and you have to ask the question about lakes. So there, you know, we've got three distinct sub-regions. Perhaps that's the way that we approach it. But I agree with Doug, let's keep it brief. Would be better to invite the Minister to come in the new year and sit down with the Mayoral Forum and talk about their program and how we might find solutions to that. That, to me, that would be far more productive than trying to put something in writing that suits us all, represents all our issues, that is unlikely to read.
Thank you. I think that's been a mighty fine suggestion on the table. I would presume that a minister would prefer to just come to one meeting with all of us. So perhaps is that something for us to look at, note as the action point that we congratulate and invite the new Minister of Local Government, Sylvia Brown, and invite him to our next Mayoral Forum, at which we will be flexible on his availability, essentially, which will allow our staff enough time to talk with us individually, so we feel we're able to contribute and propose the specific solutions.
Would you like me to move that?
Go on then.
I will. I second the motion.
Thank you. So we'll put that as a recommendation, which has been moved by Commissioner Tolley, seconded by me Tunu. I will open up for discussion before I formally put that to the vote though. Virginia, did you have something to add?
Well, that's an excellent suggestion, I'll always support you, but I just wonder whether a BIM, even if it doesn't get read by the minister, but it's read by the officials, is not some worth, and that if we don't do anything at all, it might seem like we're missing out or just not bothered in some sense. So I don't know whether it's worth putting in some sort of BIM, but our focus clearly needs to be on the meeting with the minister as Chair's obvious suggestion. I think I think it's a great idea, but maybe we do need to put some BIM in after all of them.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion just on the recommendation, and we can take any other points? There appears to be none. All those in favour, please say aye. Against. Thank you. We will send congratulations and invitation to it. Was there any further feedback on these bills for staff? Certainly my thoughts on it was it would need to be uniquely Bay of Plenty. Thank you to the staff for preparing this as a starting point just for us to look at and consider, and you are getting some strong feedback. But I did think if you were to remove all the names in the map, would this be relevant for every other region? And then how do we make the staff and the ministers eyes and ears perk up and go, oh, hang on a minute, here's a gift wrap solution where I can come over, it's very clear what they seek from me, it very clearly aligns with whatever their outcomes and aspirations are too. So that would be my feedback, as well as just how do we make it uniquely there. Thank you.
Through the chair, just the thanks to staff, because actually historically we've been trained to prepare these bills for these very important documents. I just don't want to be dismissive of that, but this is the beauty of actually going to the source of those who know within the system to be able to guide us. Completely support Medina. There is some discipline in actually going through the exercise of getting some clarity, even just for us, and acknowledging that we do have, for lack of a better word, three unique sub-regions within our Bay of Plenty. That's not a silly idea. There is a discipline around that. Even if the purpose changes from a conversation with the minister, short and punchy, to actually our plan for the Bay of Plenty, acknowledging all our unique different challenges and our unique different solutions to that. I do support the chair leader. Solutions focused is a far easier conversation to say, look, this is what our thinking looks like. Please come on and support us. And for some of the projects we've been involved in the Eastern Bay Plenty, those gift wrap, this is what we've already got lined up and in place. We just need this little bit of help to push over the line. Those are the most successful projects that I've seen in our area, at least for the Eastern Bay. So thank you, Minister. Thank you.
Thank you. So just to confirm, although we will invite, we don't want to lose progress. There is still value in preparing of them. So are we happy that staff continue to work with us on those specific solutions in preparation? I'm just mindful we are about to go into, for some of us, a 6-week break. Yeah.
I'm just going to suggest, why don't we use the opportunity of writing to the minister to outline what that looks like, rather than a bill, because then hopefully he will read it. You could be much more concise. I think that is a good one. There's been some outstanding things that have been done in the region, mentioning those and then focused on and then just highlight some of the issues that we're facing and some of the possible solutions. Bearing in mind that this government, and you listen to all 3 leaders today, they're all talking about economic growth. Well, we have a region that is definitely able to contribute to that. And if we focus on that and how we can work alongside government to lift our economic growth, we might be much better off than preparing a bill that goes into the next year with big issues. Be a bit different.
Yeah. More?
I support that idea. It's a great idea.
Thank you. Were there any further feedback on this answer? I just wonder, were there any questions from staff that you need clarity on?
Through the chair, just for clarity in terms of developing that letter with the information for the region, what's uniquely us, where the key opportunities are, the economic growth focus. Were you anticipating that we sort of let the CEs work on that together, and perhaps those one-to-one conversations with the relevant peers to confirm that going forward? Okay. CEs work.
I say, I'll get guidance from the Commissioner Tolley again. I don't think you want to make this too complicated. This, from what I've heard the discussion, so currently TCC does not want to be part of a regional one, right? Decided. In terms of getting traction that binds all of us into this, I would think that a well-written briefing paper to the minister, say this is what we want to talk about with you on, as an example, the 15th of February. And you'll read it. If it's 2 A4 pages, that's about where we need it.
Yeah, we did.
In my view.
Yeah, we did need a book. We need an economic book in the letter. But you're right, 2 pages. CEs work on it. Yes.
Well, thank you, Val. We've had some great ideas and included some good experience around the table, which we appreciate. Thank you. I think we've concluded that discussion. So we will move on to our verbal update. After the verbal update, I suggest that we take our late item before the public excluded section, which is only the minutes. So I'll check it.
I'll just clarify in relation to that last new resolution that was removed. Does that also include the details of the letter that you've spoken about? Yes. So just clarify.
Yep.
Thank you.
Do you want to check what the recommendation?
Next week.
Yeah.
Thank you. Apologies. Basically, I would have down that period to the minister. By that point, this is what we want to discuss with you in the meeting, meeting on. Then talks about the unique care and came clear of the growth issues, etc. So I've got all the reasons, not the all over okay,
to provide clarity, I think we all have an idea of what we meant by that, but perhaps after the meeting we can just get that sent out by email. If anyone thinks, oh no, that's definitely what I thought, then please provide your feedback at that stage. So we'll now move to our verbal update. This is a focus on efficiency and effectiveness and our
Afternoon, everyone. So Space Lauren, I wanted to do this update. He's not here today, so
It's something that was also raised at the Eastern Bay Joint Committee, and it's about how we can work better together, particularly achieve more efficient, effective services for our communities. At a recent meeting between the Waterford District Council leadership team and Bay Plenty Regional Council team, we talked about some of the services that we can jointly do now for our communities. An example was in terms of the Waterford District Council setting up a service to do maintenance of reserves, which the Bay Plenty Regional Council would use for its regional park. Another example was internal audit service for Bay Plenty Regional Council being utilised by Waterford District Council. There is also discussion in terms of shared planning roles and how we do consents. So Stace and I wanted to raise this in terms of whether the mayors wanted the CEOs to do more work on this through BOPLAS in terms of this focus on improving the efficiency and effectiveness of the services that we provide. Clearly with the incoming government, you can see that this is a clear focus for the new government and just really wanting that mandate to continue through BOPLAS.
Any feedback? Me too, Lou?
I'm through the chair, forgive my naivety, I actually thought that was the whole intent and purpose of BOPLAS, and I understood it was underway. So thought from a Kawerau perspective, if that's the mandate that's needed, forgive me, I just thought that was what BOPLAS was about. And thus the basis of our membership, Chair, as member of BOPLAS. Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah,
you're on with it.
Right, so can you explain perhaps just what this is in addition to what BOPLAS is doing? So it's not clear what we're adding to what they're doing.
So BOPLAS is a fantastic procurement agency of council and it achieves significant savings in terms of procurement. And that's in services such as GIS, insurance. It does this in a very good job. And I know for Bay Plenty Regional Council, it's a 1 in 6 return in terms of BOPLAS. This is talking about having greater shared services and particularly looking at that as a model going forward, where there is willingness of partners to do that, and how we can do that better. And using BOPLAS, it is a CCO of all councils, so it's a great mechanism to actually extend in terms of other shared services. So it does procurement extremely well now. There's huge benefits to each council. That's whether it can be used for other shared services. A very good example would be that Gisborne District Council approached all the BOPLAS CEOs this week to ask if we could support their recovery. So that was something that the CEOs met with the CEO of Gisborne District Council and BOPLAS staff about how we could all collectively support Gisborne District Council in their recovery. And there's some fantastic functions and councils here. John was on the call in terms of potentially the building consents team from Western Bay or TCC actually providing support to Gisborne in their time of need. So that's something that BOPLAS is looking at now, it's new, and that's in addition to the procurement functions that they provide.
Thank you, Chair Leader.
Thank you, Chair. As Fiona said, BOPLAS has been very successful in a procurement context. Outside that, I'd have to say that in every annual review, every annual report presented to our council, there's consistent criticism that the structure is wrong. It's not a criticism of the chief executives who make up, apart from the independent chair, but the reality is it's very difficult for a chief executive to give up some roles within their entity in the interest of the greater good. When the discussion should be at the governance level about what can we achieve as a region that's going to drive benefit for all the ratepayers across the region. And Fiona's mentioned the concept of, and it's just an idea, if you had a regional building authority, consenting authority, but delivery was done within the respective, as we know them, TAs today, is that going to give benefit to the consumers who apply for consents, have to get inspections and all that stuff? That's what we're talking about in terms of standing back and saying, is there opportunity here to extend the activities, the discussion needs to take place at the likes of less beyond what they currently do. Yes, they agree an electricity benefit, and they agree an insurance benefit, but outside that, you have to say it's pretty limited. And I think, is this the opportunity? Because the next tranche of work that we're inevitably going to discuss this from will be the future to local government. Is this an opportunity for us as a region to sit down and say, well, you try and get ahead of the wave on some of this stuff and say we are making progress, or do we wait till someone delivers us? And remind those who were at, I think it was last stage meeting, where the Vice President said we've got an opportunity to do something collectively together, or the next alternative is someone will do it to us. So that's the whole purpose of what Fiona was suggesting. And I think in the past, that, and my colleagues at the board here, that there was a shared arrangement with building consent work with somebody, I think, in the past. I don't know whether it still exists or not.
Thank you.
I'm not aware of that, it's maybe further back.
Commissioner Todd?
I agree wholeheartedly. I was, again, not trying to be flippant, but it does make absolute sense. And I can remember as a local MP singing praises when Motless was actually formed, and it does do extremely well at procurement, and we all benefit out of the group work, and to find ways to take that further just makes absolute sense. Building consents are a logical area. I don't know, we're still struggling to catch up on ours, but we have major building companies that work right across the whole of that region. So being able to deal with one organisation rather than actually trying to work with a number must be of assistance to our general ratepayers as well as our local businesses. So there's plenty of scope. But it does mean that people have to let go of control.
Thank you. My feedback on it as well is, to be very honest, I haven't seen very much benefit for sure as part of that in the past. I would not want to stop positive progress for everyone else, but I think as part of the future efficiency and effectiveness, ensuring that there are benefits across the region. Virginia.
I think it's important for us as councils to think about what is it that our councils do that make it, Western Bay, or whether it's the Portuguese, or whatever it is, maybe how we do building consensus. They regulatory function, and it's not a local thing. But some aspects of what we do are, and we wouldn't want to let go of those. So I think it's just determining which ones those are. But in that regard, I mean, that's just something that I think sees to mull over and then bring to councils and chief courts. But there are some areas I think this is work well, others perhaps we do want to retain our individual identities.
I mean, if it can be unequivocally demonstrated that there's a benefit, there would be no reason to oppose that benefit in terms of efficiency gains and whatnot. I mean, the last consenting thing I got drawn into was 29 months. So yeah, whatever we can do that makes things more efficient, I think you have to take it seriously.
Cheerleader.
Let me give you an example that I was personally involved in. So some time ago, I built quite a comprehensive building, and the supplier of the building came from the Waikato. In the Waikato, that building got all the relevant consents, but because I built it in a Portuguese, and the Portuguese District Council didn't have the grading or the qualification in terms of the spec of that building, I had to go and get an independent engineering peer review, which cost me $5,000. I'm thinking, if we had a regional issue here and the qualification, doesn't matter whether the qualification was held in Rotorua or Te Puke or wherever, then that would be part of my consenting process in terms of the building, getting my consent. And that's where we've got to think, you know, it's not necessarily about our individual entities, it's about ultimate benefit to the consumer. In this case, it's the person trying to get a consent. And that's all it is. So I think there's real opportunity here relative to the skill set that sits within the grading qualifications of these building inspectors to act in a regional benefit.
Thank you, Mayor Moore.
Yeah, I'm just wondering where the liability sits when things go wrong. Structure and what inappropriate. We want to see it reported. So, if you want to share this, says where would the liability sit if there's actually?
The question there, David, is if that consenting authority was held within the wider entity, you don't have to go and get a peer reviewed by a different engineer. That's the issue.
Doesn't really answer the question.
So there's clearly still some work to be done.
I mean, even with an independent engineer, the liability still comes back to whoever's left standing. That's the problem we've all got. Because that engineer could go out of business or start a new business on one day. So there's no guarantee even then for it to.
Well, I think it's a very real case we're watching unfold right now. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Just to add, Stace is the one that's working on our BCA concept, and it's been beyond that, so we can bring our report back to the next level in terms of progress, and certainly involve ROCC within that. So this is something that Stace has been working on for quite a while. In terms of that, the CEOs have been involved with this. One of the key issues is the workforce, in terms of getting the workforce to actually be able to provide the building consents that are required in this region. So I'm sure Stace, in his absence, would be happy to do that to your next point.
Thank you, me too, Ms.
Through the chair, so as stated at the joint committee meeting and again today, where it makes sense, where we can do things more efficiently together as a region and whatever functional role or service it is, absolutely support exploring that. My caveat would be, I would just like to know, I see my interim CE every day, easy enough to get a briefing from each of our Cs in that work that's being done 3 months from now, whenever the next Mayoral forum, you can have an overlay report, but actually it can be as quick and easy as catch up with a person that you may see every second day, if not every day in between. So to support the exploration, that is the ask at the table today, CE McTavish, and would just like to know the efficiencies and opportunities for consideration have been identified, and then we can support that or understand what the particular context is around it, if that's helpful. Sorry.
Thank you. I think that was any questions and comments for that. Thank you. So we now have our final item, which is the consideration of, at the request of Mayor Luca, on seeking feedback on the pyrolysis of tides. Belinda, would you like to overview this?
A few comments, it's all, I mean, I presented in the last Mayoral forum. It was just a broad overview of this subject. I mean, waste is a growing issue for all of us. It's only going to get worse. End of life tires are one stream, but there's, you know, obviously there's lots of other waste streams. I mean, we've got building waste and demolition waste that is being dealt with. We talk about doing this in regionally. And so the issue becomes, what do we do with all the end of life tires in this country? You know, we generate more than our fair share on a per capita basis. We're probably in the top 10 worldwide. Burning them in cement kilns for me is not a solution. All it does is convert what is a resource, potential resource, into one of the worst pollutants that we can generate, which is the pollutant that's causing climate change, which is causing us all sorts of problems, billions of dollars worth of problems worldwide. So I produced a little document which I call a mini review, which is sort of a little bit of time spent into the state of the art on what you can do with these things, the sorts of options, and a proper options assessment ultimately needs to be done, and some more comprehensive due diligence, and if it was appropriate, go to a business case. So at the last meeting, I requested expressions of interest on dealing with something on a regional scale. And since then, I've got an indicative price of quite a large multinational company that produces or that manufactures plants. And it was around $30 million mark, which would be sufficient to process most of the country's tires. What happens with the products of that process is a question that you have to get into the economics of. Is there a demand for the scrap steel that's generated? Of course, there will be, and that will have a value. Fuel oil, the oil that's generated can be either used as a fuel, it's upgraded, or converted itself to some other products. I mean, it's a hydrocarbon essentially. And then there is the ash, which is a carbon black ash, which contains minerals because they're in the tyre to start with. And there is some work going on internationally to recover the pure carbon black from that and feed it back into the tyre manufacture process, and that looks like it's quite feasible. So the question would be for the forum is if there is any appetite to explore this a bit further. And I mean, the idea of setting up a regional facility, I mean, you know, with all the obvious things that generates jobs and resource recovery from things that would otherwise be burnt and sent up in the atmosphere. But there's a little bit about it.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Tom?
Look, actually, Mayor Luca wrote a very good article in the Beacon and described all this, and it generated a lot of discussion around my dinner table recently when I had a whole lot of families staying. One of the interesting questions is why do tires have to be black? But that's beside the point.
Carbon black.
Yeah, why do they have to have carbon black? But I was just looking at the minutes from last time when I did bring in committee the Tamonga development. And that's going well, and we had a good discussion, and that's actually going well. But in addition to that, my understanding is that amongst the region, we are also discussing other waste streams. To be working together on other waste streams, and it seemed to me that I just assumed that the tire concept had been put into that, but that would seem to me to be the logical thing. If we're working together on how we deal regionally with the waste, then by all means the tires should form part of that, so that further work can be done. David, I think you were talking about green waste in the east, so I just assumed that that was all happening. Marty says it's not at the chief executive level, but probably with our sustainability or waste teams. So perhaps the action from this would be that we include the tire concept as part of that wider work that's being done on a regional basis. I don't know what the timing of that to report back to us, but we could ask that they come back to us in the new year with where they've got to. Would that be make sense?
Where
the regional, our regional teams have got to on the different ways.
Well, I thought that's what
The under an ad, I mean, this is a topic, I wonder where it sits in terms of process that was raised at UNISA.
Yes.
So I think you've got to be careful that we don't go in a little silo ourselves when there should might be consideration given to the much bigger picture. Because I think that when you're talking about cycling tyres, you had the opportunity to get a much bigger input to make it economically viable, etc. But I mean, we have been talking about this UNISA. We probably need to involve that UNISA for in any discussion you want at the chief executive.
I mean, tyre-wise, the tyre stewardship program has has got a pretty comprehensive report on all of what's happening in the country. As far as that report's concerned, and I talked to the guy in charge there is nothing going on in terms of industrial scale processing of any tyre thing, any tyres. So the plant I talked about was not regional, it would accept tyres from the entire North Island. So you would have two plants, maybe one in the south, one in the north, you would be transported with that. So as far as I know, it's not much happening. Except that the stewardship program is collecting tyres, it's getting an income from tyre vendors, and then it's gathering them all, most of them going to Golden Bay, where they're burnt. And I think that's a practice going to become unsustainable. We're supposed to be getting our emissions down to zero by 2050, and process heat industries, which is things like steel, cement, milk powder production, and on paper, are all going to have to decarbonise. So they won't be able to just keep burning, coal and rubbish or anything else in their cement thing going forward. It's going to have to be alternative fuel source, either electricity or say hydrogen or something. That's where we're going. We have to go.
Thank you. And look, Mayor Luca has prepared quite a bit of detail behind this as well. So we'll make sure that that report is distributed to everyone, including chief executives. And I do note, I'll bring it up when we're in the confidential section around the minutes, but there was an action point for an update about this as well, which was covered from the TCC chief executive too. So I suppose the request is at this stage, would still like this to continue. Oh, sorry, I didn't have my function. So I suppose the request is at this stage, would we still like work to investigate this to continue? I think what I'm hearing is yes, and it could be part of the regional waste strategy. And just to double check, I also heard that this work isn't being done at the chief executive level currently. Perhaps could we just note to the chief executives following this meeting that we would like this followed up. Thank you. We'll note that.
Do you want to ask the chief executives at our next meeting for an update on where they've got that exact? Sure, that comes up to us.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Yeah, perhaps Madam Chair, if I could say that the sub-regional work they're doing around Timor, the business case for that is going to be reported back in February. So we'll bring that and share that at the next year before. Where the tyre situation fits, and I think it's at a different scale, and obviously it's a North Island facility, so I think we should explore and we will explore where that might fit in and who our partner might be. I'm thinking that we're talking about regional partners and we're talking about MFE, some sort of agency.
And I guess we can try and tap into the waste minimisation fund to fund whatever work needs to be done with the business case. But I mean, I'm happy to continue to contribute to it anyway, offline, and whatever that is.
Thank you very much. My personal thoughts on this as well is that yes, we would certainly need some MFE or waste minimisation funding. So I'm not sure about you, but our GPs are very, yes. So there has been no further questions or comments on this. Thank you, Melinda, for raising that again. So the only other item is the confirmation of our Mayoral Forum minutes. I'll just get a gauge, is there any requirement to go into public excluded to discuss what's in the minutes, or are we happy to confirm those as true and correct?
I'll move the true.
Okay. So that has been moved by Commissioner Tolley, seconded by Mayor Luca, that the minutes of the 11th of August meeting of the Banting Mayoral Forum is true and correct. Just double check. Actually, no, it won't be okay. All those in favour, please say aye. Any against? Carried. Thank you. So that concludes our formalities for today. I'd like to close us with a karakia, and then I do invite you back into the green room, which we do have that cake in there and a cup of tea or coffee before you hit the road. Thank you very much. I'll close us with the karakia now. Kia whake iri ai te tapu, kia wātia ai te ara, kia turiki whakataha ai, kia turiki whakataha ai. Haumi e hui e, tai e. Thank you very much.